Welcome to Trippin in the Shy. Welcome to Black Girl World Traveler Podcast Season 3, Episode 2. So for those of you that are new, Black Girl World Traveler, the podcast is all about travel, finances, and living your best life. So I decided to take these podcasts visual to create a more interactive experience, post some clips to Instagram, and essentially just try to engage with my audience more. So this season is all about safety, how the concept of safety has shifted, because not only are we in the COVID-19 pandemic, we're also in a racist pandemic. If you live in the United States of America, really the world, but particular focus on the United States. So this episode is episode 2 of season 3, and we're gonna talk about Trippin in the Shy. So Chicago was my first trip in 6 months since the pandemic started, since the official shutdown in the United States. And I can honestly say that Chicago was an amazing time, like amazing. I decided to go there because the flight prices from Philadelphia International Airport were super cheap. So I think I paid, like $40 for my trip, round trip. It was super cheap. So I said, why not? Chicago's a major city. I've always wanted to go to Chicago. You know, it's another black mecca. One of the ones we have in the United States. So I figured, why not go? And honestly, I got super restless. I was tired of being home. I was tired of not being able to travel. And I just felt super restless. So I said, I'm going to change up my flow and head to Chicago, whatever and it was honestly one of the best decisions I ever made. So I stayed at the Freehand Chicago, which is a hostel. Now I will say that I did have a roommate, and you know, that's not the safest in a pandemic. I was trying to be on a budget. But thankfully I had 2 different roommates because they were each there for only one night apiece. Neither one of my roommates was ever in the room when I was there, so that was amazing. In terms of like social distancing and you stay here, I'm here. And I also decided to stay at the Freehand Chicago, just for those of you who are wondering, is because I got one free night. So I think I stayed for 4 days, 3 nights, and I had one of those nights free, so I only ended up paying for 2 days. So me being a budget traveler was like, I went with the deal, and thankfully it all worked out because I did feel super safe. Chicago has a lot of good restrictions in place: outdoor dining, wearing masks, socially distanced. So, or being socially distant, being socially distant, as I should say. So I felt super comfortable. Now let's talk a little bit about what I did. I'm going to run through my itinerary. So if you see me looking at my phone, it's because of that. And actually, if you buy my Black Girl World Traveler course, you get my entire Chicago itinerary for free, which is super dope. I'm super proud of the course. It never really felt like the right time to drop the course. I feel like I keep saying it, but because it's so true. I never wanted to drop the course. In the beginning, it was because of self-doubt, and then after that, it was just because we were in a pandemic. I don't want to talk about travel. I want to talk about, Breonna Taylor. I want to talk about what's going on in the world, how does the world not collapse before our eyes. So it never felt like the right time to drop the course. But I just said, you know what? I got to do it. And so I dropped it a few weeks ago. And I want to say thank you to everyone who's reposted and shared. Please continue to do so. Black Friday is coming, so we're gonna have a sale on the course. But I just want Black women to know that you can do whatever you want to do, and that's just one period. If you want to travel, travel. If you want to walk on the moon, walk on the moon. If you want to open up your own business, do that. If you want to not open up your own business, do that. If you want to be the best possible teacher that you can be, or the best possible nurse, whatever it is you want to do in life, you do that and you be the best at it. I think for far too long, we've suffered from self-doubt, imposter syndrome, whatever you want to call it. And that has honestly crippled us, and has crippled us of our ability to just do things and to take risks. So it's my hope that while listening to this podcast, taking my Black Girl World Traveler course, reviewing the information about wellness that I have on my website, that you feel like I can do this. Somebody else is doing it with me too. And so yeah, so let's talk about Chicago. So I got there. It was really, my first impressions of Chicago was that it was a combination of Philly, New York, and Detroit. New York because of the metro, Philly because of like the vibe of the black people, and Detroit because of some of the housing that I saw on the way. So I actually got on they called their subway the L to my hostel, and you know, it was regular. It was just like MTA, which is New York City's transportation, but it was just cleaner. You could tell that they clean it much more often. And so that was super cool. I didn't like the fact that I had the roommates in the hostel, but like I said, I never saw them, and I think that the accommodations were like just enough. It was bare bones minimum. It did what it had to do. Would I stay at free here in Chicago again? That's a good question. I might pay for a hotel, I can't even lie. The second night I was there, it was actually my first night. I heard this couple, they were having what sounded like the best sex ever. At least I think it was a woman and a man from what I heard. And she was just giving it to him, he was giving it to her, and I was like, oh my God. Oh, I'm back traveling again. There's been so many crazy things, but yeah, they were getting it on and fucking popping. She was like screaming at the top of her lungs, and I was just like, oh my God, I need to get out of here. I need to do my makeup, because there was like a vent in the bathroom where I was doing my makeup, and she was just screaming, and I was like, get it for the both of us, girl, get it for the both of us. And so yes, for those of you who want a system of travel, one thing that I like to do is take pictures the first day, the first full day that I'm there. So I like to do some sightseeing, get up super early, like 5, 6 a.m., do my makeup, get dressed, and then go do some sightseeing. So that's what I did on my first day in Chicago. And I went to the Bean, which is in Millennium Park, and the Bean is literally a statue of a bean. They were enforcing social distancing. Like, you couldn't even get into the park until like 8 o'clock. So I had to wait like, I think 5 minutes, and then she was like, can you put on your mask, please? I was like, I'm sorry. It was like hanging down the side of my face, because I don't wear my mask while walking. I think, like, if I'm not around people, I'm not wearing a mask. I'm just not. But obviously wasn't around, so she asked me to put it on, and once I got to the Bean, like up and ready to take my pictures, I set up my tripod, everything was good to go. I realized I forgot my camera stand, and I was like, So now I'm gonna have to ask these random strangers to take my photos. They're probably not gonna take them to my liking. But they were super nice, and I actually saw them a couple times throughout my trip. Like I saw them 2 or 3 times around the park, and then I saw them at the John Hancock Observatory. So all that to say, you know, you make it do what it do when you forget equipment, when you don't have a tripod, a camera pod, you ask strangers to take your pictures, you try to kind of like, you gotta kind of like model them like how you want them to take your pictures. These are just things you learn as a traveler. So I went to Millennium Park, and then I went to Batter and Berries. I tried to go to the one in Lincoln Park, but I couldn't find it. No, I went to the one in Lincoln Park, but I couldn't find it. I tried to find the one downtown, the Loop. Couldn't find it. It was a whole disaster. I had to wait like, thank God, I only had to wait like 15 minutes to get in Batter and Berries. Batter and Berries is this phenomenal black-owned breakfast spot in Chicago. The food was really good. And one thing I've noticed as a traveler is that when you're a solo traveler, just one person, you get into restaurants so much quicker. So much quicker. Like, I think as soon as you add another person, it's just like, it inherently adds like a 45 to an hour minute to an hour wait. And I'm just like, ugh. But when I'm just always like, it's just me. I went and she was like, let me just get your table ready. And it was amazing. And Chicago is known for their food. And I guess I definitely wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was, just in general overall. When I was at Better and Berries, I was like eating a sausage and the French toast. I was like, and the eggs. I was like, this is good. This is real good. So Better and Berries, check them out. They are in Lincoln Park. If you are going, especially if you're going on a Saturday, get on that Yelp list early, because you will have a wait. And so after Better and Berries, I decided to just walk around. Whenever I'm in a new city, I like to just walk around and observe. And especially being in Chicago and knowing the history of, you know, segregation and the ghettoization of Chicago and, you know, the politics, the racial politics. I was excited to just walk around and explore. So after eating at Better and Berries, that's exactly what I did. And Lincoln Park is very white. So I'm just like, you know, walking. I'm like, okay, there are no black people here. Lincoln Park is very residential. There's a lot of places to eat and shop. There's a lot of parks. It seems like it's a very like family heavy neighborhood. So I was like, okay, this is nice. I saw a little farmer's market. And so I was like, okay, but where are like the black people? So that was like a thought on my mind, because I know how segregated Philly is, where I'm from. So it just made me think, okay, well, apples to apples, dust to dust. So that was something that was constantly lingering in my mind. So I had made my way. I walked through Lincoln Park and I had made my way to this big park. I have no idea what the name was. But I decided, okay, now I'm going to go to the Chicago History Museum now. Y'all may not know, but I am a history nerd to the core. And I love learning about, I love storytelling, first and foremost. And I love seeing how people commemorate the past, because I think our past and present dictates our future. So I decided to head to the Chicago History Museum. I had bought my ticket ahead of time online, and it honestly was amazing. I was expecting it to be not as good as it was. I never have like high expectations for museums, because with storytelling, you know, there's always going to be some stories that get left out. You know, history is the privilege of the winners, and it's the narrative of the winners. So I didn't have too many high expectations, but I ended up spending 4 hours in the Chicago History Museum, and it was amazing. My favorite exhibit was learning about Muslims in Chicago and the impact that they've had on this city, and learning how they fought for their rights to wear their hijabs and their traditional garb. You know, basic human rights, I think, that everyone should have access to. I learned a lot about the origins of the name Chicago, and Chicago is the name of a flower. I believe so, a wildflower. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure. And of course, you know, it's Native American land that was stolen. And learning about just the history, and learning how, like, seeing in person, seeing pictures of the ghettoization of, you know, the black migration to south side of Chicago, and seeing the neighborhoods. It was interesting because when you read a book, when you read something in a book, you're like, oh, okay, that's fucked up. And then you see like the human faces behind racist policy. It makes you stop and think, well, this is, yeah. Oh, so redlining happened, black people couldn't get mortgages, so they started renting, or they bought houses on contract in Lawndale, or in this part of Chicago, in Southside Chicago, and this is the result. Right? It seems like a linear story. Obviously, it's way more complicated than that, but that's what I was learning about. And so I left the Chicago History Museum wanting to learn more about the city, but also it had confirmed a lot of things that I had studied in undergrad, like about housing segregation and about racism in Chicago. And I do think that the Chicago History Museum does a pretty good job of narrating different types of stories. So I was pleased with that. And hopefully we get to a point where I'm recording these episodes of specific cities and countries and states while I'm actually there. But I was in Chicago just a few weeks ago. So I'm reflecting on my experience. So later that night, I made a very big mistake. I went to the John Hancock Observatory. The John Hancock Observatory was fine. However, the lines were so long, even if you pre-purchased your ticket. I waited for an hour and a half. I got there like 4 o'clock on a Saturday. I will never do that again. So the John Hancock Observatory is where you can go up to the 94th floor, and you can do the tilt, which is where it's like a machine, and you can tilt to see like an overview of Chicago. It's like kind of like a little mini amusement park ride. I didn't really like it like that because I don't like heights, but it was fun. And according to the ticket you purchase, like there's a specific type of ticket that you can buy that includes 1 free drink. And so that's the one I got. So I got a free drink, which was nice. And they played like nice music, and you can sit down, you can get some food, and you basically get a 360 view of Chicago, which is nice because Chicago's right on the water. So it's really beautiful, the city of Chicago. And that experience was nice, but please do not go to the observatory on a Saturday. You will deeply regret it. Tickets range from I think $30 to $40. Would I do it again? I don't know if I'll do it again, but I am happy that I did it at least once in my life. And that night I stopped at Big and Little's, which was a po' boy place. It was an average po' boy. It was okay. It wasn't like Northland. It wasn't like po' boy from Louisiana, but it was pretty good. And that's how I ended off my night. So still wanting to learn more. Got a lot in. And then that day 2 in Chicago was, oh God. I tried to go to Southside Community Arts Center. So Southside Community Arts Center is located in the historic neighborhood of Bronzeville, Chicago. So Bronzeville is on the south side. It's right outside of downtown. And there is a lot of history, a lot of famous people who have lived in Bronzeville, worked in Bronzeville, a lot of famous black people, especially regards to like jazz, and like you'll see pictures outside of Pearl's restaurant, which is actually where I ended up going for lunch. Now I will say, I was like, as soon as we entered Southside on the train, on the L train, I knew I was in Southside because it looked decrepit. It looked abandoned, and I said, okay, we're in Southside. And so I got off the train, and a man was screaming. No, there were 2 men working out at the bottom of the train steps. And there was a man screaming. So I said, oh, okay, you know, this is like another day in Philly. So I walked. Pearl's was right around the corner because I had come to find out this Southside Community Arts Center was closed. So I went around the corner and to Pearl's, and it was a huge wait. I was like 7th in line. I was like, why is it there's always so long of wait times at black-owned restaurants? I know it's like a spacing issue and whatever, but I was just like, but I decided to wait regardless, because I just wanted to be in the atmosphere, and finally with some damn black people. That's the biggest thing. When I got to Bronzeville, it was black people, and I was like, oh, this is Chicago. This is black Chicago, and I've never seen segregation that bad before. Now, Philly is a segregated city. That's where I'm from, but you do see like white people in the neighborhood that I live in, even though my neighborhood is predominantly black. You do see white, because they want to gentrify. In Chicago, no. Once you in Southside, it's very, very few black people. And I think the narrative of Chicago is that it's a dangerous, violent, gun-riddled city. And also that it's a black city. But when I was there, I didn't see that at first. And then I went to Southside and I said, okay, so it's almost like living in two different worlds. So I waited at Pearls for so long. I think I definitely waited like an hour and a half. And I'm just like waiting outside. It's a Sunday. I'm mad that I gotta wait so damn long. Even though I think that, no, I didn't make a reservation. You can't make a reservation online. You gotta go and get on the list. And I didn't like the service. I felt like, you know, I just didn't like it. I wouldn't go back. The food was okay. Not as good as Banner and Berries, but they treated me nice. I will say that. Like, the waitress treated me nice, but I definitely had to hound them. Like, my table, I got an alert that my table was ready, but I didn't get seated for another 20 minutes because even though my table was clear, because there was so much chaos, like it just seemed like it was very disorganized. So I got seated. The waitress treated me very nice. I will say that. She was very sweet. And there was a woman who had a birthday, so like I like recorded the happy birthday. They sung like the Stevie Wonder happy birthday song. So I was like, I finally felt home there at Pearls because I was like, finally it's some damn black people. So that was Pearls. I was so disappointed that Southside Community Arts Center was closed because I love art. I love, you know, seeing how people reflect on their experiences, especially their lived experiences and what they've experienced. But it was closed because of COVID. So what can you do about that? Nothing but respect it because people don't want to get coronavirus. And so my day at that point was supposed to be over, but I ended up going to the aquarium, which if you are in Chicago, the aquarium is not that great. You know, they have a couple of sharks. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm not a kid anymore. I don't really like it. But essentially what happened was, y'all, let me give y'all the tea. I met this guy at the John Hancock Observatory. He was trying to talk to me, like, whatever. He was like, you know, come to the aquarium tomorrow. I'll get you in for free. We can go. We can, you know, hang out afterwards. And I was like, okay. At first I was kind of like, because I don't care to see animals. Like, I don't care to go to the aquarium. But I was like, okay, we'll see. We'll see where this goes. So I ended up going after Pearls, and I was so underwhelmed, and I was exhausted. So that was the day that I got cute 2 days in a row while in Chicago. I thought I was something. Usually I'm like in my sneakers and I'm here, there, you know. But my feet were hurting so bad. I was wearing platform boots, and I was like, I can't take this anymore. I'm going home. So he was working in some part of the one of the exhibits. I gotta go. Like, I went to find him. I was like, I gotta go. I'm tired. Link up later. So he was like, okay, cool. But I wasn't interested in him. Not at all. And I shouldn't have gone. I absolutely should not have gone to that damn aquarium. I was over it. I was tired as hell. I had done so much in so little time, because when I'm traveling, I always feel like I gotta get every possible thing I can get out of this place. So I be wanna go. I'm like, I damn near don't, like, I don't got time to be dating. I don't got time to be focusing on other things besides like travel. Because as much as traveling is fun for me, I definitely am starting to see it more as a business now. So I want to take myself seriously. And at the end of the day, I'm a solo traveler. I got to get what I need done, and that's one period. So I bid him a farewell. And that was the end of it. I think he was a little upset, but sorry, boops. And then after that, I also wanted to go to the I call it the DuSable, but y'all know I have a wacky accent. It's called the DuSable, I believe. DuSable Museum, which is a very famous African American history museum. But unfortunately, they too were closed because of COVID. So that's a common theme. Everything is closed because of COVID. Like, everything. You can't go nowhere. You can't do shit. Stay home. Says the person who, you know, got on a flight and, you know, went several hundred miles across the country. But do as I say, not as I do, right? So the DuSable was closed. So that was the end of my day there. And then I wanted to explore Chinatown, but I never got a chance to. Apparently Chinatown in Chicago is really great. So that's something I'll have to do on my next trip to Chicago, because I was loving it by this point. I was tired, I was beat, but I was super loving it. I'm like, I can see myself living here, but cold weather is a deal breaker for Black Herbal Travelers, so that was an absolute no-no. So I also ended up, I forgot to tell you about this, I took a Chicago Art Center Foundation boat tour. So Chicago is on the river, it is on water, and it has so many lovely, beautiful skyscrapers, and there's so much history. That's when I saw, when I came to Chicago, I was like, Chicago got money. Like, a lot of money. And you see it when you're in the Loop, which is downtown area. So I decided to take a boat tour to learn more about the architecture, the buildings, the history, and also just, you know, who doesn't like being on the boat and learning? I guess most people know. Who doesn't? Like, but that boat tour was expensive. That boat tour was like $50, $60. But I will say it was nice. It was a nice tour. Tipping is not expected because it's so expensive. And you do get free access or discount. I mean, not say free, definitely a discount on the access to the museum. So that's I guess a nice little benefit if you take the boat tour. But you learn about the buildings, the history of the buildings, when they were built, how long they've been around in Chicago, learn about the new developments, how expensive Chicago is. Some of those units go for like $7 million, he was telling me about, or like, and several $1 million. And I was just like, this is luxury living. But the boat tour lasted about 90 minutes, and there is a bar on board, so you can buy alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages and food, which was dope. I had a really good time. And you can check that out. You can see some of that footage in my vlog on Chicago on YouTube. I did vlog my experience. And overall, I think Chicago was a solid city. I want to learn more. And I definitely want to go back because it's such an interesting place. It's such a segregated place. And for me, I'm the type of person that I'm going to go where I want to go. Like, that's just me. As a traveler, I feel like that will one day bite me in my ass, because I may end up in a situation where I shouldn't be. My little, you know, Dora the Explorer tendencies might get me hurt one day, but I'm gonna be positive and just continue to travel the world and how I see fit. Overall, Chicago was an excellent first travel pandemic location. Highly recommend. We have so much work to do socially, and Chicago was a perfect example of that. The fact that, you know, 60 years later, the ghettos of Chicago still look the same. There's certain systems at play that are keeping things the way they are, because Chicago has a lot of money, but it's concentrated in very specific areas of Chicago. And as a result, there are the haves and the have-nots. And I think as Black Herbal Travelers, as listeners, as students of the world, not only should we be going to these places to travel, but we should also be going to learn and to act, and not just be silent and not just be passive observers. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Black Girl World Traveler, the podcast. I will see y'all on next week's episode, and next week we're going to Puerto Rico. Oh, I'll see y'all next week. Peace.